Are you ready to talk about sex, baby?
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things
and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Welcome to my home.
You mean my home?
It's neither of our homes.
But it is our podcast.
Glitter and gay.
Coming your way.
So thanks for tuning in today. I don't know why I'm so excited right now.
I started to say you are maybe just a little bit.
Because listen.
Are you excited?
I am excited. I love sex.
Am I exciting you?
Yeah. It's happening, Glennda. It's happening. Finally, I'm going to make my mom so proud.
You're so weird.
I know. No, but I do love sex. I am somebody, I think, the reason I wanted, because we've had these conversations offline before.
That's because we're good friends. I have to tell you, Tyler.
Are you a little nervous?
I'm a lot nervous. I was not really prepared to have the whole sex talk with thousands of people. But you know, this is either going to be really good or really bad because
we're just going to see where it goes.
You know what? This is it.
Exhale.
I think that we inhale confidence, exhale doubt.
One of the reasons I was inspired to do this was because Melissa Urban, who I love and follow, she has a weekly newsletter, and she started talking about squeezing sex into your day with your partner. And then she is like really opened up talking about people that were asking her lots of questions about her sex life. And I was like, this is fascinating and it's interesting. But what I like most about it, and what I like most about talking about it, is that I think, well, it requires, I want to be responsible with the conversation because obviously I know that there's a lot that comes with sex. You know, there's people who have trauma around it. There's people who were raised with really strict ideals around it. There are people who are not comfortable with their bodies. And I just think there's like a lot of shame and stigma that comes with it, especially for women.
Especially
because like if I sleep around, I'm just like a fun gay man. If you sleep around, tell me what it is. Fill in the blank. What do you think the reputation becomes of you if you sleep around?
So when I first moved to East Cobb, I got invited to this girls' night out with all of the cool girls. I mean, like these were the really cool girls, and I wanted to be friends with them. And I couldn't believe they had asked me to come to this girls' night out. And I never will forget this. We were at this place called Paper Mill Grill. It's right around the corner. It's now Camps. And I don't know, maybe there were 8, 9, 10, 12 of us. And I was at the corner of the bar with my girlfriend that I knew well over here on my left, and these two other girls over here. And this lady walks into the bar. I didn't know her. And they were like, "Hey, how are you?" I can't remember what her name was. "How are you? It's so good to see you. Oh, my stars, you look so great." And the girl walked away. And this woman was so vulgar about the things that she said about that lady that she had been so nice to. And she talked about that this woman slept around and that this woman, you know, like basically like just vulgar things that I can't even repeat.
Do you think that's coming from a place of jealousy?
I think it's coming from a place that woman was a complete and total bitch. And she was a horrible woman. And her daughters, that same exact woman, her daughter was friends with this girl. And do you know that she told all of these women at the same girls' night out that her daughter's friend had texted a picture of her happy to all these boys. And she
Of
talked
her happy?
well
I
of,
know.
of her vagina.
I know. I just love that you called it her happy.
It is happy.
It does. Is it shaped like a smile?
But this is the thing is like she talked just as vulgar about this woman's daughter. And so I remember I had gotten divorced and I was in this strange place where I was like definitely like, yes, let's go. And I said to my daughter, I said, it's kind of weird though, because like, you know, like what if I got with this guy and, you know, I see him a little bit and I see this one a little bit and I want to sleep with this one or I want to sleep with that one or, you know, I don't want to start stacking the body count. Like I don't want to be a slut. And Victoria goes, oh my God. She's like, you do realize like that's not even like a thing anymore.
It's not.
And I'm like,
you said that to me at dinner too. I was like, people still use, I'm like, I hate the word slut.
but I literally like, if you slept around, like you were considered like a slut. And
Who made the rules?
those mean girls.
Okay.
And so, but that's the thing is like, we're so conditioned by what other people think. And Victoria, and I said to Victoria, you're gonna love this. I said to Victoria, I said, you know, I said, on my visit with Tyler, you know, he really talked about being sex positive. And I really liked the way that sounded. Like it really gave me like a different view of sex. And she goes, well, yeah. And also Tyler's a gay man. So of course he's sex positive. And I was like, wow, okay. She's like, but yeah, you definitely need to reframe your views on sex because how long has it been since you had sex? And so it was interesting because I came out of this marriage and I was seeing somebody and we were, in a, I don't even know if you could say we were in a relationship, but we weren't seeing anybody else. And, I don't know if he was a buffer. I don't know what he was, but regardless, I mean, I was like, oh, goodness gracious, this is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And, then I wasn't seeing him anymore. But just the whole, like,
do you struggle? This is not something I struggle with, but curious because a lot of women have told me for them it's different. Are you able to separate emotions from sex?
Ooh, great question. So I will tell you, I have always attached emotion to sex, always. Mm-hmm. Just because I was raised that you didn't have sex with people that you weren't in a relationship with. And I never did. I was never the person who was having sex without a relationship.
Yeah.
And so I definitely attached it. And I would even say since I've been divorced, in the physical relationships that I've had, whether it was, kissing someone or, being very affectionate with them, I definitely feel like I've kind of transitioned that thought process because so to me, kissing is extremely intimate.
I was just about to say, I can separate sex from emotion, but it's much harder for me. Like if I kiss somebody and there's like a spark that happens for me,
yeah,
I can go from liking them and thinking they're just okay to all of a sudden having my world rocked. Like if somebody's a great kisser.
Wait just one second. Calling? Wait just 1 second. Denver, Lucas is going in and out of the door. There is an alarm panel in the laundry room. If you'll just unplug it, we won't hear that sound.
I thought you were about to give the code on the podcast.
No.
The alarm code is
1-900-HOT-BABE.
No, but like if somebody kisses me and they're like a great kisser, and then all of a sudden I get very excited about somebody. And the same, let's say like I have, I've had bad sex, I've had good sex, and I've had great. If the sex is really good and they're a good kisser, I will say all of a sudden it's like hard not to have a crush after that person leaves.
And but to me, the kissing is almost, if not more, intimate to me. And I really want, I want to be kissed.
Mm-hmm. Kissing is my favorite.
Yeah. And I can't remember if we talked. I swear, I am so confused between the podcast and our conversations because, you can kiss someone anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was on the podcast.
And I love, it is so underplayed.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think about, who was the best kisser and who was my first kiss. And it's so funny because one of the anonymous questions was, who was your first kiss? And I thought to myself, if you were really smart, you would have asked who was my last kiss. That'd be more juicy than John Pollitt, my first kiss in third grade.
I know. My first kiss was also in third grade in the dugout with a girl named Rachel Coker.
Really?
We still joke about it every now and then. I haven't seen her in forever, but we'll DM each other and be like, remember you were my first kiss?
Well, John Pollitt, it was that kind of
yeah,
kiss.
that kind of thing.
And then when I was in sixth grade, Ben Rogers, who was in eighth grade with braces, kissed me in the back seat of his mother's station wagon while she was at bingo. And I'm just here to tell you.
There was a less sexy sentence you could have shared with me. You're like, it was so-and-so. He had braces and it was in the back seat of his mother's station wagon while she was playing bingo.
But that guy was so sexy. That guy was so sexy.
We had just had milkshakes.
We had Coca-Colas. But no, the guy was, even in sixth grade, he was so sexy. His brother's an actor. Is that too funny? Anyway, so I haven't thought about him in 100 years, but I can right this very second, right this very second, I know who was the best kisser. The kiss you can still taste, the one you can't get enough of. So my romance novels, the kissing is very, very descriptive. And I think, a lot of people are like, oh, women read these romance novels. I'm telling you right now, if you are a man and you are not reading a romance novel, you are totally missing an instruction booklet. It is literally a step-by-step guide on how to make a woman's pants fall off. You have never, ever seen anything like it. It is insane.
I love the idea of a romance novel as a step-by-step guide to make a woman's pants fall off.
It is. I'm telling, touching the small of her back. What an intimate thing. Just touching. Number one, I'm extremely sexual. Number two, I am a touchy person. I love to touch. I love sweet talk. And this is the thing. It's I'm on these dating apps and I'm yeah, playful to passionate. I'm looking for everything in between.
I'm curious. So on your dating apps,
yeah.
Because something that we have as gay men that I don't think exists as much for straight people is we have Grindr. Have you heard of Grindr?
I have heard of Grindr, yes.
So,
but I don't know. I just know that it's a gay men's dating app, correct?
Yeah, I think it does look a little bit like Tinder, I guess, when you open it. But it's based off of location, and so all the profiles populate being the person who's closest to you populates first.
Yeah.
Grindr, I would say, is, and this isn't always true, but I would say is predominantly just for sex. It's for people who aren't really looking to go on a date. And people are usually pretty honest in their profiles. There's a few pictures, their height, their weight, what they enjoy, what position they are. Cause that's something we have to deal with in the gay world is people are usually top, bottom, or versatile. Most people are. Here's what I say in a relationship. I hope I'm actually curious what the gays think about this, but I think in a relationship, everybody becomes verse eventually. Verse means Have you not heard any of these things? You look confused.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm so confused.
Oh my gosh.
Because you said top or bottom. Like, do you not get to do both?
That's what verse is.
Oh, okay.
And so if somebody's verse, that means that they do both. But a lot of people are predominantly one or the other. There's like guys who are like, I prefer to be the top. And there's a lot of guys who are like, I prefer to be the bottom. And then there's a lot of guys who are like, I love both. Like whatever you are, I'll be the other. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So we may have that as women. I don't know if we have that as women. Like Grindr, like a website, like an app,
right.
like an app that is predominantly just for sex. I'll be quite honest with you. I wish there was that.
Me too.
Because, and I hear this from single women all the time, where they go on these dating apps and the guy only wanted a piece of ass, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want...
Because don't you just sometimes want a piece of ass?
Absolutely, 1,000%. But the thing about it is what I really don't like is when you're telling me you're looking for a long-term relationship and you're really only in it to fucking chuck or smash and dash. Like, to me, that's the only thing that's what makes me crazy.
I love calling it, by the way, the smash and dash is like is my new favorite term.
Oh my gosh.
Because I mean, it just makes it feel like it was rough and they were out.
Yeah.
Like smash and dash.
So I'm having dinner with my girlfriends in Las Vegas, and my girlfriend Justine, I asked her, I said, do you have a boyfriend? And she goes, and I'm like, ooh, what does that mean? And she goes, really, it's just for smash and dash. And I'm like, oh, unpack that for me. And she goes, have you never heard that? I'm like, nope. And she goes, yeah, you just like hit it and quit it. I'm like, huh, interesting. I said, no, I've never heard that. So I was reading one of Adriana's books the other day, and in the book,
that's her favorite romance novelist.
Adriana Locke. I love her. So I'm reading one of her books the other day, and they said fuck and chuck, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So again, like whatever is your deal, like far be it from me to judge like what you want to do, like. But what I hate is like the misleading. Like I went out with this guy, and I never will forget. I went out with this guy. This guy was so smooth, and oh my God, his clothes were insane. The guy had the most beautiful clothes. I mean, the texture of his clothes were fabulous, gorgeous, beautiful.
I've served you nothing but silk.
Oh, honey, he was right there with you.
Okay. I just get weirdly insecure.
No.
What about me?
I mean, fabulous shoes. I mean, the guy's 6'3". He's got beautiful blue eyes. I mean, this guy is my type, head to toe, top to bottom, front to back. And we go out, we have a great time. I mean, and this guy is serving the BDE like you cannot believe. I mean, he is alpha head to toe, and I am loving it because I love that, take charge. And I think, and I want to stop here, I want to pause and then remind me where I was. So I think that for me, what happens is they're like, oh, she's such a boss at work. Like she wants to be in control in personal, in the bedroom, in sex. Listen to me now, gentlemen. I have spoken with so many women that are a boss at work. We do not want that in the bedroom. We do not want to have to tell you what to do. We want to be tugged around like a rag doll. Let me assure you, I haven't spoken with any woman who is a badass in the boardroom that needs to be a badass in the bedroom. Period. Bottom line. So that's a little footnote. So anyway, so this guy is serving up the BDE, and I love it. And so we go out, and then we go out again. And then the third date, he's like, why don't you come to my house and, we'll order in and watch a movie or whatever. And I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. And he's like, well, what's up? Why are you pumping the brakes? I'm really into you. There's this connection. And I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. And so sure enough, I go to his house, he gets me to go to his house, gets me this false sense of security. Things are moving really rapidly, very quickly. And sure enough, boom, boom, boom. He's on top of me. Come on, it's not like we're in 7th grade. We're 50 years old. You don't need to wait, blah, 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 blah. He's serving it up. And I mean, I am buying it hook, line, and sinker. And seriously, that guy is nothing but the smash and dash. And interestingly enough, he's a loan officer. So, and his best friend is somebody that I know. I mean, it's just like, literally, I'm like, oh my God. But at first I was like, oh, stars, I can't believe I was like tricked into this and all this stuff. And then I was like, this guy had the most amazing sheets. If I took nothing away from that, the guy's sheets were to die for. And in fact, I've thought many times about sending him a text. Hey, I know I'm never going to see you again, but your sheets were amazing. What kind were they? Like, I swear to God, this guy had great sheets. So kind of like, I always say yes in business. I always say yes to every opportunity. Like, had I not said yes,
you would have never known about those sheets.
I would have never known about those sheets. So I just think but and I told you about this conversation, and I know I'm monopolizing the conversation, and I promise that
I think it's actually your perspective on it is going to have more of an impact than mine. Like, I don't think there's not nearly as much sexual shame in the gay community. Yeah. I think we have owned our sexual power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to share it. That's part of the reason I wanted to do this conversation, because like, I want women to be like, it's okay to love sex. It's okay. And it's like, it's a thing you can go out and enjoy. And another thing is that, and now, in gay relationships, open relationships are normal. I would actually say it's almost uncommon for gay men to be in totally monogamous relationships. And what's fascinating about that is you never hear, you do, but it's much less common for there to be conflict around cheating, around affairs, because there's they separate the emotion from the sex. And so they're able to say, oh, I was really attracted to this person, so I went home with them last night. And honestly, in a lot of relationships of people I know, for them, it actually adds to their sex life, because they're like, oh, really? Like, tell me about it. And and then it like adds like a new fuel to their fire and kicks theirs up a notch. And it keeps them from getting sexually bored, which I think happens to everybody. I've certainly like gone in and out of sexual rhythms with partners where I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I was like, we've just done it so many times now that I'm a little bored. And then of course I fall out of that boredom and I miss it and I come back, and it's like these cycles. But in the gay world, I will say I'm actually somebody who, having witnessed, I've actually never been in an open relationship, but I've witnessed it amongst so many of my friends of being like, oh, right, you don't have the same kind of conflict that exists in so many heterosexual relationships, of the jealousy, of being cheated on, of being sexually bored. And I know maybe 2 or 3 of my straight friends who are in couples who are in these open relationships, and it actually works really well for them. But there's still kind of like this societal construct of like, that's reserved for the gays. And it seems to be working well, but it's not something that we're open to. And now I don't know if that's actually a straight thing or if it's a feminine emotional thing, or if it's just a way that a woman was raised of like, that's my man and nobody else is going to touch him. And is that based in reality, or is that based in
insecurity
in how somebody was raised? And does that play a large part in why the long-term success rate of relationships, even ones that start as like that amazing fiery relationship, don't ultimately have the greatest chances of long-term success?
Oh, goodness gracious. So I have to say, I mean, you kind of threw out a lot to unpack from yeah, a straight female perspective. And I'll be the first person to admit I can be possessive. Just like running through my head right now, I was just thinking like, oh, okay, how would I feel about that? Interesting. So I think that I think that the power is in transparency. I think that if someone said to me, you know, if the box was checked, smash and dash only, and that was what I signed up for, you're much less likely to see negative fallout if you're transparent. And if your intentions change at some point, if you communicate then I think that, you know, open communication is typically the key to anything, right? So again, it's difficult for me because I think I've always been in one long-term relationship after another. Especially when sex was involved, I was always in a long-term relationship. Most always in a long-term relationship. And at 55, being divorced again, going through what I went through in my marriage. And I think going through what I went through in my marriage has really made sexual compatibility very important to me. Like extremely important to me. Like important to me like you cannot believe. And you know, I said to my daughter Victoria when I was looking at this divorce situation, and I said to her, I said, look, I have a great life. I'm comfortable. I'm secure. I've got a great house. And at the time I was 52, and I said to her, how much sex is there left in my life? You know, come on. I'm 52 years old.
Right.
And, you know, why not just hang out? Like I'm not going to die here. I'm not going to die by not having sex, right? And it'd been probably 2 years since I'd been kissed, maybe longer, 2-3 years since I'd been kissed properly. And Victoria looked at me and said to me, wow, that must feel so bad not to have anybody touch you, not to have anybody love you like that, not to have that physical connection. And she goes, there's lots of great sex left for you.
I know, I'm like, if I have to stop having sex when I'm in my mid 50s, I'm like, I don't want to live much longer than
she
that.
Goes, Mom, look at, she goes, look at Kris Jenner. And I'm like, do you think Kris Jenner has lots of sex? She goes, oh yeah, absolutely.
How old is Kris Jenner?
Like 62.
Is she? Oh, she looks amazing.
She does look amazing.
She's definitely getting laid.
Yeah. But you know, this is the thing is like, at this point in my life, oh, I told you this.
I'm like,
I know you are such a sex pot.
Climb over, climb on, Glennda.
And you know, I've learned so much being single. Anyway, that's another story. So I told you.
You've been reading?
Sorry. Anyway, I told you about the guy and the 3 questions. Mm-hmm. And every time I think about that, I think about like, he has no idea that really was all of the truth. And you know, it's so funny because I'm literally like, I see the stuff that like that girls post, and you know, I see stuff, you know, in these different girl groups. And if men only knew like what women really want, it just totally, I mean, I swear to God that the lack of communication about sex is just shocking to me. And I mean, I told Victoria's, she asked me when I would go out on a date, she was, how did the date go? And I'm like, well, I said it was interesting because, they always ask, what are you looking for? And, I tell them, and she's like, what do you tell them? And I'm like, well, I tell them, passionate, possessive, like somebody who's like purposeful, like I want to be kissed, I want to be touched. And she's like, Mom, you're like every guy's dream. Like, of course they told you what you wanted to hear. And I'm like, well, but it's the truth, Victoria. Like, this is what I want. I think I should be honest. And she goes, well, you do realize it's a trick question. And I'm like, what? She's like, they're going to ask you what you want, and then they're going to pretend like that's them to get what they want. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, I was so disappointed. Like, I thought that really they were interested in what I wanted. But I don't understand. Like, to me, again, just tell me that the smash and dash is what you're looking for. And I'm just going to tell you something right now. When people listen to this podcast, if hashtag smash and dash
is trending, I was thinking the same thing. Oh God.
Is that too funny?
Listen, I think it's been an important conversation. Like like I've said many times, I'm very sex positive. I talk to a lot of my girlfriends who I know love sex, but feel like they can't talk about it. I hate that. I'm like, you're allowed to love sex. Of course there's rules. People have to be consenting. Both people have to want it. What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you said you're abstinent. I was like, why are you calling me out?
I did. Did I say something? I didn't.
I think maybe I heard it.
No, you heard it because I made this look like you said both people have to be consenting, and I was like, and it reminded me of I'm going to hold you down, but I promise you you won't want to move.
I know. Well, I'll tell you a few of like my kinks is like, I love dirty talk and I love to be controlled. And so like, I'm going to pretend that the consent doesn't exist, but trust me, you'll know if the consent doesn't actually exist. Like if I give you like a swift kick to the face, that means you're out. But if I'm saying, please don't, but winking, I'm like, please choke me until I scream pineapple.
No, but
You're like, no.
I want to be sensitive to consent.
Of course.
So while we're having a good time with sex conversation, I want to be sensitive that we're talking about sex between consenting adults. Yeah. Period. Whether you're being tricked into the smash and dash is one thing, but we're specifically talking about consensual sex between adults.
Of course.
Whomever it is, male, female, him, her, them, they, whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's all we're talking about. We're not talking. And again, I'm going to hold you down, but I promise you won't want to move. I mean, I'm just here to tell you right now.
You didn't want to move? Nope.
Pineapple.
Pineapple. Okay.
Pineapple.
Pineapple. Upside down pineapple.
Instead of doing a voicemail, we're going to do some anonymous questions. Let's look and see what we've got in our anonymous messages. Okay. So, do you have an OnlyFans?
Do I have an OnlyFans? No, but you know what? I'm open to it. I think it could be kind of fun.
Okay.
Do you? I know you've joked about it, but you don't actually have one, right?
I do not.
Are you going to get one?
I'm thinking about it.
Because they're not just to like show your privates. It's like some people like share recipes.
I don't know. Doggy style or missionary?
Oh, I love being the I love doggy style.
Okay.
Like getting it from behind.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What is the
while you're holding my hair? The proverbial you. I don't know.
But you don't have any hair in the back.
Trust me. You figure it out.
Um, what is the one thing you wish you would have said yes to, but you didn't?
Ooh. Um, that's a good question. What is one thing I wish I would have said yes? I'm a yes person in general. Um, you know what? There have been a few people really in my early 30s who I would like go on a date with, and then uh and then for whatever reason, just like where I was emotionally at the time, I would ghost them, and they would like reach out and then want to go out on another date. And there's two in particular that, looking back, they're both married now, but looking back, I was like, oh, I could have said yes to that. And they're peripherally in my life, and I'm like, oh, look at them.
Okay.
But who knows?
Tyler, when did you come out and how did your parents react? You answered that.
I did. My mom, when I was 14, I was in my mom's bedroom, and we have apparently some questions in there. My mom, came in and lied to me and basically tricked me into telling her. And she was like, Miss Brown, who is my high school, and I had told a couple girls at school. And she was like, Miss Brown told me that you've told some people at school that you're gay. And, and, and I was like, what? I was like, Lady had to be the one who told, because Lady was the first girl that I ever told I was gay. She lived around the corner from me. I was like, Lady must have told her. And my mom was like, so it's true? And I was like, yes. And she was like, Miss Brown didn't tell me that. She's like, I just didn't know how else to bring it up. And I was like, oh, and then we had a great conversation. It was obviously really uncomfortable, of course, and like scary. And then time goes by and everything starts to feel normal again. And my dad, this is actually a really beautiful story. My dad kind of got gypped in the deal. Because he and my mom had been they were divorced and did not get along. But the one thing they came together on was supporting me while I was coming out of the closet. And they had met, this was in the late 90s, with a therapist. And we're talking to the therapist. And this was in the South. And my mom later, when she was sharing this story, she's like, it's funny. She's like, the therapist thought we were coming to them to like talk you into being straight. And she was like, no, we just want to make sure he comes. And she was like, and then that therapist loved us because they were just so used to talking to these like conservative parents who were like so worried about their kids being gay and how are they going to fix them and what do they need to do. And she was like, we just wanted to make sure you felt safe and supported. And anyway, and so I didn't realize that they had been working on this together. This is a little bit of a lengthy story, but I promise it's good.
Put my phone down.
So after I came out of the closet to my mom that night, my mom was like, just so you know, your dad is ready to hear it. And he's going to support you. And she was like, we've already been talking about this. And she was like, I think it'd be really great if you could call him and let him know. And I said, okay, I will. So cut to a few days later, my mom comes in my bedroom and she was like, did you not tell your dad? And I was like, no, did you? And she was like, well, he called and asked how the conversation went. And I thought that because he was asking, you must have already talked to him about the conversation. And she was like, so yes, I now told him that I have confirmation. Or however she said it. She was like, so basically my mom accidentally kind of outed me to my dad, even though they were both working on the conversation. But it created this unfortunate moment between me and my dad, because then I felt uncomfortable because I knew that my dad knew that I was gay and he knew that I knew he knew. And it, for about a year, was just this thing we didn't talk about because it was kind of like the coming out had happened behind the scenes. My dad was giving me my car. That my mom handled my brother's car, my dad handled my car. And my dad was in the Air Force for my entire life, and he was up for like a promotion at the time. And so this year goes by, and it's my birthday, and my dad is giving me a car, and we sit down, and I'm like very excited about getting the car from him and like getting the keys. I'm like, hand it over. I'm like, I'm 16. I want to go drive. And he was like, I want to tell you something. He was like, he's like, I'm up for this promotion at work. And he's like, and I decided not to take it. He's like, I actually have decided to leave the Air Force. And he was like, I had an opportunity to just go ahead and exercise my retirement, and I decided to take it. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, that was back when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was a thing. And he was like, yeah. He goes, I don't want to be part of an organization that doesn't condone my son's lifestyle. And that was our first like actual voice-to-voice conversation around the fact that I was gay. And I think that gives you like a good look into the support I had from my family, that my dad would like walk away from the Air Force because he doesn't want to be associated with something that doesn't have his son's back.
What an amazing story.
Mm-hmm. I'm a very, very lucky boy, which is why when we had that voicemail of somebody being like, are you discriminated against? There is almost like this weird guilty feeling that I get, because I'm like, I had so much support. I mean, I was kept super safe and super protected.
You had so much support, and now you are thriving in a environment that it's not only accepted but celebrated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, my dad, by the way, is still, when we had an early episode of the podcast where I talked about what it was like growing up. I think my dad probably knew it existed a little bit, but he had never heard it. And it was really hard for him to listen to. And, and I saw him in the city afterward, and my dad's a very private person, so I'm not going to like share the conversation. But I mean, he was like, I had no idea. And he was like, I had no idea that that's what your school life was like. And, and it was, my dad's a very sweet, sensitive man. But just hearing that I was bullied, let's call it 25, 30 years ago at this point.
He hurt for you.
Yes. All this time later, it was like it was happening in the moment to him. He was like, who do I need to go kill? Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Let me choose some questions. How does this app work?
That would be no. I'm controlling the phone.
Okay.
So Glennda, do you have any NDAs signed in your personal life? No, I don't. But it's interesting, because when I first started dating again, Victoria is very protective. And she said to me, she's like, look, you're going to get hit on by a lot of guys. You're a very attractive woman. You're very successful. She's like, you need to be very protective of where you choose to do things, because everybody's got a camera. You're, high profile on social media. If you go to some guy's house, he could have a camera there. You're out, kissing on people. Like, everybody's got a camera phone. Camera phone. Right. And so I remember, like, I haven't been having sex in an era where, like, people would, like, there would be a sex tape, right?
Oh, right.
And so that was just like, oh my stars, like, that never even occurred to me. And it's interesting because, the guy who talked me into coming over to his house, Victoria was like scolding me, like, you don't know what you were walking into. That guy could have had a camera. And I said to her, I appreciate your concern, and these are valid, and I didn't think about them. And thank you so much for, kind of putting that in my head. Mm-hmm. But I'm a 55-year-old woman in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't think that YouTube is going to go viral over watching me have sex.
Cut to.
And
Cut to.
Victoria goes, "Oh, people like to watch everybody have sex." I was like, "Okay, great."
That is true.
Okay, so let's look at let's just see if we have anything else interesting. Are y'all paper planners or digital camera type people? Digital calendar type people?
Digital.
Of course. Ever been hit on or dated a client? Yes, many times.
Do you know I've never had that happen?
Oh my God!
I don't get a lot of gay clients, and the gay clients I do get are usually like shacked up with each other.
Oh my God! I have been so many.
Okay.
Every day, all day, and twice on Sunday. Let's see here. What brings you the most fulfillment in life?
My animals. I love my animals so much. I miss them.
Yeah?
I do. And watching the people on my team succeed.
Okay.
Are you not going to answer? It's your kids, isn't it?
Oh my God. It's my kids, my grandkids. I mean, to be honest with you, like I would spend every waking moment with them. I mean, like doing fun stuff. Like I love like going to Cracker Barrel. Like I love so much.
Ham.
Like my little grandson, Callie, he likes to play Pac-Man. So I have a Pac-Man machine downstairs. He loves to play Pac-Man. He loves to play shuffleboard. The other day I was teaching him how to play pool. I mean, like the kid just like my cup runneth over.
We're going to dinner with your kids tonight, right?
Just with Lucas.
Oh, okay.
We're going just with Lucas. In fact, he's texting me, "Do you have a safety pin? Do you have some double-sided tape?" I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck are you wearing? Like he's seen your shirt up here. I'm thinking, oh my God, is he going to go like with Tyler? Like, you know, he sees you all like spiffed up and everything.
I'm not wearing this though.
No, I know.
This is strictly for the podcast.
I know. I love that. Okay, wait 1 second. Let's just see if there's anything else interesting that we can't get away from. How do you respond to the people who ask you out for a coffee date when all you were trying to do is list their house for them? So this is really
Another question: Will you put out for a listing? Will you? That's a question.
You know, it's funny. Fortunately, maybe I've transitioned over into my business skills are more important than my sex skills. But I'll end with this story if that's okay.
I would love that. I love a good Glennda story.
So
that was prompted by will you put out for a listing?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm at Tongue and Groove. It was a bar here in Atlanta.
Oh, I know. It's where you met the car salesman guy.
Yeah, he owned the dealership.
Right. And he wore ballets. What was his name again?
Bill,
right.
So Bill says to me, "Can I have your business card? I'm thinking about selling my house."
Oh, this story is about Bill?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Bill makes it back for season 2.
Yeah. So Bill says, "Can I have your business card?" And this is part of that. I didn't tell this part of it in season 1. So Bill says, "Can I have your business card? I'm thinking about selling my house." And I looked at him and I said, if I had all of the money from every guy who told me that they were thinking about selling their house to get my phone number to ask me out for a date, I'd be sitting on a beach in Tahiti. And so, you know, I kind of laughed, haha, here's my business card. He's like, well, let me give you my business card. And I just stick it in my purse. I don't think anything else about it. And he calls me the next day and, you know, he says, "This is Bill Voiles. And we met last night at Tongue and Groove, and I'd love to take you to dinner. And by the way, maybe we'll be sitting on a beach in Tahiti one day." And I was like, oh my God. But I mean, he was always so fun. Have I told you about the last voyage of the Royal Yacht Britannia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the story you told. You told that one.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember where I was. There was so much fun stuff with Bill. We had such a great time.
My dad loved the Bill stories.
Yeah?
Because apparently he knows the car dealership.
No, he does not.
Did. And he was like, she missed out on that one.
You know what? Such a nice guy. It's so funny because his niece is a Glennda.
Uh-oh.
And so it's so funny because and his daughter. And so it's so funny because I kind of think I wonder what they think about me talking about now. But
have you talked about him on your TikTok or just the podcast?
Is this like of the Ed Boyles?
yeah. Denver's like, damn, you did miss out. No,
Bumper stickers are everywhere.
yeah, such a nice guy. It's such a great family. Just him, his brother, his sister, his parents were so awesome. So I always think about let's go back to Kane Brown, What Ifs. I love that song. But right now, Tyler,
We did it again.
I'm going to try not to cry.
It's been, I just finishing with a little gratitude. This podcast I think it's my favorite thing that I've worked on. It's just it's cathartic. It's different. It's authentic. It's real estate. It's personal. It's business. It's professional. But most of all, I mean, it's just so fun and so special being on this ride with you, and where we were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and what's unfolded in our lives. And you talk about surrounding yourself with people that show you that it's all possible and that you can do it. And I love having somebody like you in my corner, and doing this together is just so spectacular. It really is.
I just can't believe it. I woke up this morning, I was thinking to myself, I get to spend the day with you. I get to spend the day with Denver.
And Logan.
And Logan. And Logan. But I think about, we were in your home. And to have you here in my house, I don't know if you saw my post yesterday, to have you here in my house. Once somebody enters your home, that's a different kind of relationship. Mm-hmm. And I love you so much. And I'm so honored to sit by you and stand behind you and cheer for you. I think that you are such an incredible person. And I cannot believe that you chose to spend your time with me. And I'm so thankful and so appreciative and so grateful, because you remind me every time I look at you. Every time I look at you, you remind me about what true friendship and unconditional love is. So thank you, my sweet friend.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too. I love you so much. Oh, I'm gonna cry.
And we love our sparklers.
We do love our sparklers. Hey, you know what we need to do?
What?
We need to remind people to
subscribe, rate, review,
share. Don't forget share.
I do share. I think she's so great.
You know what? I think
turn back time.
You know what? I think that
find my way.
I think I'm gonna be Glennda.
And I think I'm gonna be Tyler.
No, but just like Glennda. Cher, Madonna, Britney, Adele. I'm just gonna be Glennda. This is where you say, of course.
Those kind of things don't require responses.
Okay.
They are self-affirmations.
Okay. And our dinner reservation is in a moment. So we need to skedaddle.
Okay. All right. Let's go.